Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Michelle Morris from Consolidated Planning Group. We were just having a little fun in the chat box discussing where we would like to be transported if we could take the weekend off from reality, not worry about money or babysitting. We would go, and we've got some great answers. Everything from New Zealand to Morocco to the moon and Madrid and Japan and all kinds of places. So it's fun to dream sometimes. Okay, let's bring it back down to earth. Today, we're going to be talking about the Medicaid waiver programs. Before we get started, I want to let you know a few housekeeping items, right? First of all, we do record all of these webinars as we present them. We have the recording on, and then later on today, we're going to put the recording on our YouTube channel. When we do that, we're going to send an email to everyone who has registered. So you'll receive a link to that recording. You're also going to receive the slides that I go through today if you have registered. Now, if you're looking at this webinar because you found it maybe already on our YouTube channel, or if you're listening on our podcast and you have not pre-registered, but you still want the slides, feel free just to let us know. That email address is contact@cpgcares.net. And we would go ahead and get those slides for you. The other thing you need to know is that since we cannot hear you or see you, any questions or comments that you would like to share, we love those. You just need to put them in the chat box because I cannot see or hear you participants. But if you put anything in the chat box, that gives me the best way to present the material and also get all those questions. And I do have some questions that were submitted before the presentation today. I've got those here on my phone and I'll be able to pull those up and try to incorporate them into the presentation as well. Okay, so yeah, if you missed a webinar and you want to get those slides, just email us or email me and I will make sure we get those to you. There is my contact info in the chat box. Okay, again, I'm Michelle Morris with Consolidated Planning Group. We are a small, independent, holistic financial planning firm that focuses on serving the special needs community. So let's go through those items. We are a small independent firm located just outside of Houston, Texas, but we serve families all across the United States. We call ourselves holistic because we can do everything for your financial world. Life insurance, investments, planning for your retirement needs and goals, savings plans, um, investments, securities, all of that kind of stuff. But we focus on the special needs community by providing services and education regarding special needs planning, benefits and resources, and what you need to know to plan for the future for your loved one. We do this because we are all of the financial advisors at Consolidated Planning Group are parents to loved ones with needs. That's why we focus on this community. When we were going through it with our own children as parents, we saw how much misinformation is out there, how much noise, and how few answers, and how it was just so hard to try and figure everything out. We decided as parents that we did not want our clients to struggle the same way that we had to. So we have gathered all of this information and made ourselves experts in the field so that we can help the families that we work with. Like I said, everything in your financial picture and your special needs planning, we can help. We further our education by being chartered special needs consultants. We are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy. We also are National Social Security Advisors. So we take this very, very seriously, and we've grown a business where almost every single client we have comes to us because of our ability to help with the special needs planning process. That's things like thinking about a lifetime care plan, protecting your family in case a caregiver becomes disabled or passes away. We help a lot with transition planning, that transition to age 18 or out of the home or out of high school. We help with ABLE accounts and understanding waivers, like we're going to be talking about today, the special needs trust, and how the money kind of needs to flow so that you do not jeopardize any of the benefits that your loved one is entitled to. We do a future cost of care estimate for our clients, which is a very valuable tool that tells you how much money you really need to be thinking about leaving to your loved one so that after you pass away, they will receive the same continuity of care, the same continued level of care that they are used to, even after you're gone. We help you figure out how and when to apply for those state and federal benefits, what forms and sugar words you're going to need to use to get those resources. And again, we are here to advocate for you and to educate you, because I truly feel in a previous life, I was an educator. I truly feel that educated communities are much, much stronger. So as we present this material and present these webinars to try to educate the public, that's our way of advocating for you to help make sure that some of that misinformation that's out there and the noise is quieted. We're giving people the resources that they need so that as a community, we can advocate for ourselves better and help our friends and neighbors through their own journeys. It's pretty rare to find experts like us at Consolidated Planning Group, because out of the entire United States, there are over 263,000 financial advisors. But out of those 263,000 financial advisors, fewer than 200, just 200, focus on special needs planning the way that we do. That's less than 0.1%. So that's why it's so difficult for you to find answers. And when you're here with us, you can rest assured, take comfort in knowing that we understand what we're doing, we get it, and we are here to help you. So a few bits of information and things to think about before we jump into the world of state waiver programs. Think about, and I know it keeps you up at night, probably already, you do think about what's going to happen to your loved one when you are not around to take care of them, or you simply can't, you're unable to take care of them later on in life. What's going to happen? Who will support your child when you're gone? Well, you need to really think about those options and start planning now. People think, oh, my child is too young, or oh, it's too late, or I'm just not ready because I don't want to face those questions. And it's hard. Yes, we know. We know it's hard. And we know it's easy to just hide from the responsibility or kick it on down the road. But the truth is that the sooner you start planning, the easier it will be. You're going to have a long runway of time to be able to make decisions that are calm and rational. If you wait until a crisis strikes, you're not going to be making the best decisions. You can also make small incremental changes that are going to have a larger impact on your overall financial picture, and be able to tap into things that are going to be less expensive now than if you wait. For example, life insurance. Life insurance is always less expensive when you're younger and healthier. If you keep putting things off, the cost of things like that will just grow. Think about what's going to happen after high school. There are great residential options, vocational options, and educational options out there for our loved ones. You do want to get involved early because you want to tour the programs and residential communities, whatever you think is next for your individual. You want to know what's available, what those programs look like, what would be a good fit for your family. And if they have a wait list, you want to get signed up as soon as possible. And the last thing that we always suggest is just be very, very careful when you're thinking about naming a successor caregiver for your individual. It's so easy for families to say, well, little Jacob, is going to need care for the rest of his life. He's not going to be able to be completely independent. He's not going to be able to hold a job that is going to sustain him and pay for all of his needs. So he's going to need care for the rest of his life. And, he has a sister, older sister Sarah. She's got a job and she's got a family and she's doing well. So maybe when we're gone, Sarah will just take care of Jacob. Well, that sounds great. And surely the sister wants to help. She wants to be involved. She loves her brother. She loves you as a parent and she wants to help. But when it comes down to it, you know how truly difficult it is to be a caregiver. And when the time comes, Sarah might feel that it's a bit more of an obligation than she initially thought. I've had parents tell me that the best gift that they could ever give to their neurotypical children was to make sure that the neurodivergent children are taken care of. So you're not leaving a burden. Another thing to think about in that situation is, here's little Jacob. He's had his sister, Sarah. They've been siblings. They've been best friends. They've been partners in crime. They've always gotten along. And now all of a sudden, Sarah is stepping into this role of caregiver, which might feel a little bit like the role of an authority figure. And that could create some resentment from her best friend if things seem to be suddenly changing. So just be very careful about those circumstances where you think a sibling is just going to be the perfect solution to caregiving for your loved one with needs. Now, today, I intend to focus on these waiver programs for the rest of the meeting. So if you have any questions about waivers, what are they? What do they do? Who is eligible? How do you apply? Those are the kinds of topics we're going to be talking about today. Again, put your questions and comments in the chat box. And yes, we are recording this and we will send it out along with the slides later on today. So let's go over the general timeline. What happens when you have someone who has been diagnosed or you suspect that there might be some kind of diagnosis in the future of a disability? First of all, hopefully when your child is young, you're going to notice a difference, or your doctor is going to notice a difference, and there will be a diagnosis. We want you at that time in life to work with the doctor, make sure that they are documenting everything having to do with that disability. The more documentation your doctor puts in the notes, the better chances and the easier it will be for you later down the road to get approved for benefits. Now, we want you to tell the doctor, hey, we want functional notes in there. We want to know about how our child functions in the world and what supports they need and what help they need, even on their worst days, especially on their worst days, and how they compare in the grand scheme of things, and whether or not their diagnosis is going to hold them back from living from keeping a job, from living a fulfilling life. As soon as you know that there's something different, you also want to get on the waiting list for the waiver programs. Some of these programs have extremely long waiting lists in the state of Texas. Now, since Consolidated Planning Group works all across the country, we can help you no matter what state you live in, but we are in Texas. And so we do tend to focus on information about Texas when we do these webinars. Now, some states have very short waiting lists, maybe 2 to 5 years for some of the most popular waiver programs. Some states do not have any wait list at all. All you have to do is prove residency and you're able to sign up for that program. Now, these are statewide programs, so it does depend what state you live in, but you don't usually need to prove the diagnosis or have any proof of the disability when you sign your child up for the wait. So that comes later down the road. So sign your child up to be waiting on those wait lists as soon as possible, especially if you're in a state with a long wait like Texas. Now, sometimes people ask, What states have shorter waits? We can help you look into that, but one thing we have found, and this is not a political statement, I'm neither, this is neither a pro nor a con. I'm not advocating or denying this, but we have found that states that legalize marijuana are using the revenues from the tax on those sales to provide funding for the waiver programs in their state. So if you're looking for a state that would have a shorter wait for these waivers, I would look to those states that have legalized marijuana. Now, of course, you're also going to want to look at the living situation in that state. How expensive is it to live there versus in a state with a longer wait? That will factor into your decision, I'm sure. Anyway, down the line, when your child reaches age 18, most children will qualify for SSI benefits at that time. Most children do not qualify for SSI before age 18 because the parents are making too much money or have too much in assets. But at age 18, they no longer look at the parents' income and assets. They look at only the child's. And then later on in life, when a parent either turns on their Social Security retirement benefit, or the parent becomes disabled, or if a parent passes away, at that point, the child will switch from SSI to SSDI. They will keep the Medicaid that comes with SSI. After 2 years on SSDI, they will also get Medicare and be dual eligible for those two things, Medicaid and Medicare. We do many webinars. There are some out there that discuss SSI and SSDI in greater detail. But today we're looking at those interest lists specifically. So how do you get on the waiver waiting list? You need to make at least 2 phone calls. So everyone in this call, if you have any diagnosis for your child or you suspect a diagnosis is to come, I would suggest that you call 877-438-5658 as soon as possible. Everyone on this phone call will qualify for at least one of those programs. So DBMD and MDCP are narrow focused programs that do not serve everybody. Not everybody here will qualify for those, but CLASS is an extremely broad program. It's one of the broadest waiver programs out there. It serves nearly every kind of disability. So if you are watching, your child will probably be able to qualify for a CLASS waiver, and you should call that 877 number and get registered on that list. Next, you want to call your local Intellectual and Developmental Disability Authority, or your LIDA. Sometimes we call it your local authority. That would be something like Texana, Bluebonnet, the Harris Center, Gulf Coast, Tri-County, MHMR. Those are all the ones that are coming to my mind. ACOG. If those things sound familiar, that's your LIDA, your local authority. If you don't know who your LIDA is, you can go to this website, or you can just call 211 and they'll help you find your local authority. When you call your local authority, you need to ask to be put on all of the waiting lists that they have. You're going to give them your loved one's information. We're going to go over what exactly you're going to need in a few minutes. But you must call those 2 places, and everyone who's listening today should do that as soon as possible. Now, for those of you who have a loved one who is age 21 or, almost 21 or older, you should call to get their name on the STAR Plus list. So not everyone here today qualifies for that, but STAR Plus serves age 21 and over. So if you're close, get on that waiting list too. Now, once you have signed up for the waiver wait list, give them a little bit of time to process the paperwork. Then you can go look at yourtexasbenefits.com. When you go to this website, you're going to create an account with your loved one's information. Little Jacob lives at made up street address in Missouri City, Texas. Create an account with their name and their information. Then you're going to go to manage an interest list. And when you click on that, you're going to see where they are on that wait list. So maybe it'll say, Jacob is number 13,000 out of 175,000 people who are currently on the list. And you're going to see which lists you're on. If you're not on one of them, you can go back and register for those by calling the appropriate place. On your Texas benefits, you can also sign up for other benefits, things like temporary food assistance, SNAP benefits, and other things like that. Okay, no questions so far, so I'm going to keep going. Now, there is a common misconception. People think that if their name comes up on one of the lists, or if they start receiving CFC, Community First Choice services, that they should no longer be on a wait list. Well, that's not right. We want you to have the most opportunity and the most options possible, right? So keep your name on the waiting list, even if your name comes up, your child's name comes up for one of them. So let's say you get a call that you can get Community First Choice services. Start receiving those services, but keep the name on the list for HCS or Texas Home Living or any of the other services. When your name eventually comes up for those, you can decide which one is going to be best for your family. Some people think that HCS is the best. They have the deepest pockets and they pay for the most things, but not everybody actually needs all of that help. So maybe the Texas Home Living would be better for you. But the point is that as you're waiting, you do not need to take your name off of any wait lists. You can make your own choice on those as your name comes up. There's also a service coordinator who is going to be helping you, who can help you dig into which program is actually best for your family. But getting any services is a benefit. Some important documents to think about. When it comes to these waiver programs, you do have to show that there's a disability. When their name comes up, you don't need to prove it when you put them on the list, but before they are able to get services, you will need some proof. Things like a school evaluation that needs to be completed. Documentation that has been done by a medical doctor. They will receive the doctor's medical records, your person's medical history, and they're going to look for a qualifying disability ICD code, ICD-10 code. So that's something like a letter and number, like F84.0 is for autism. Each diagnosis has its own code. You need to have that in the medical history. You might need an evaluation that is done by a psychiatrist or psychologist with their diagnosis and their signatures added. That will help. Any bit of proof that you have will help give you a stronger chance of qualifying and further proving their disability. They're going to ask probably for pay stubs with income to make sure that the individual is not above income limits. And they're going to look at, of course, IDs like a driver's license or a state issued ID and proof of residency. I do see a question in the chat box. Our autistic 23-year-old son receives SSI and just got notified for SSDI payments as well. How and why? And it seems that the SSDI payment shuts down the SSI payment to zero. So let's flip back to that screen real quick before we move on with the waiver programs and cover that again. Remember, typically at age 18, people qualify for SSI. They don't qualify for SSDI unless maybe a parent has turned on their Social Security retirement, a parent has turned on their disability income through Social Security, or the parent has passed away. Another way that a child could be getting SSDI is if they worked and they've earned their own Social Security disability because of a work history in the past. Now, when you switch from SSDI to from SSI to SSDI, generally the benefit is more. And if it's more than the benefit you get at SSI, then yes, you will completely lose SSI and switch over to the higher benefit. You will keep Medicaid that you earned from being on SSI. And after being on SSDI for 2 years, you will receive Medicare as well. So, Burke, if that sounds about right now that I've explained it, then it's fine. Go on as you are. If it sounds like someone made a mistake somewhere, please contact me or my office to schedule an appointment and we'll go through your particular situation. Okay. Now, in general, parental income is waived with the Texas waiver programs. So they're not going to look at how much the parents make. It is based on the child's income. And usually the child isn't making very much or they're barely making any money. So it really doesn't have much impact on their waiver programs. Also, Medicaid comes with these waivers because they are Medicaid waivers. Some of the Medicaid waiver programs require that you're already on Medicaid, and we're going to talk about those. And some of them come with Medicaid. Your Medicaid will turn on when you get the waiver program. Even if you have health insurance already, Medicaid will be helpful for you because they can help you pay for other things. The waivers can cover things that other private insurance and traditional Medicaid programs do not cover. Things like respite care. Every once in a while, wouldn't it be great to be able to get out of your house and turn your child over to someone who will be able to take care of them for a few hours so you can get away or rest, just take a nap, go see a movie, something. The waiver programs can help you pay for that respite care. Now, you still need to find someone to provide the care at that price that they're willing to pay. But that's one thing you can use the waivers for. Home modifications and vehicle modifications. I understand that they provide $7,500 for home modifications one time. So if you're in your permanent space, you can use that. I'm not sure on the limits for vehicle modifications, but if you need a wheelchair ramp or something like that, you can get those using funds from the waivers. They can help pay for specialized therapies, music, massage, recreational therapies, even things like horse therapy or anything like that. It can pay for adaptive aids, phones, communication devices, medical equipment, wheelchairs, hospital beds, any adaptive aids you might need, and residential services. So later on in life, when you are unable or unwilling, or your child wants to move out and be more independent and they move to a residential community, the waivers can help you pay for residential programs for your loved one. And that's a huge benefit because one of the largest costs in your future of paying for your child's care is where are they going to live? So if the waiver program can cover 25 or 50% of their housing costs, that would reduce the amount you need to leave for your loved ones and be very, very beneficial for them. Okay, so there are 8 main waiver programs here in Texas that you need to think about for your loved ones. These 4 are very, very broad general waiver programs and have the longest waiting lists. Class, again, is the most broad program. They will provide home and community-based services to people with related conditions, with an intellectual disability. No, let me go back. Class provides services to people with a disability, an intellectual disability, or any related services. You do not have to have an intellectual disability to get class. It does not matter what the person's IQ is with class. What does matter is that it's a disability that began before age 22, and it affects the person's ability to function in daily life. Now, HCS, again, people think of this one as the best waiver program. HCS gives services and supports to people who have an intellectual disability or a related condition who live in their own homes or small group homes with fewer than 4 people. HCS has the biggest pockets, and they pay out the most for families that need it. And they can help pay for housing, which is a great benefit. Community First Choice provides home and community-based services and supports to people who already receive Medicaid and have a disability. They can help provide health-related tasks and training for hands-on assistance. The services are provided through a managed care organization, and so the parents are more involved with finding these services and service providers. And then Texas Home Living. This is a smaller version of a waiver program because they're only helping to pay for people who live in their own home or their family's home. So these are going to have the longest waiting periods, well, except for Community First Choice, because again, they serve so many people. I do see some questions coming in, but we'll get to those in a second. Let's talk about the more specialized waiver programs. Now, these programs do not, they're not eligible. Everybody is not eligible for these programs. EBMD only serves people who have deaf and blind. They're deaf and blind, and they have another disability. DBMD, it stands for deaf, blind, and multiple disabilities. So if your individual is deaf and blind, and another disability, or if their condition is leading to them being completely deaf and blind, then you can sign up for DBMD. As you can see, it's going to be a shorter wait because there's not very many people who meet that criteria. MDCP is the next one. This is for medically dependent children. And the key here is that you have to be 20 years or younger, and you have to be medically fragile. That is people who they need help at home, or else they would have to go into a nursing home for care. Okay. The thing that we often see with MDCP is that people are denied service because they're not medically fragile enough. Okay, yes, the YES program is different. YES focuses on services for children who are under the age of 19, and their primary diagnosis is something that is a serious mental, emotional, or behavioral difficulty. So every other program, they look at these related conditions and intellectual disability. The YES program looks at mental, emotional, and behavioral difficulties as the primary diagnosis. So that's for our kiddos who maybe have bipolar or schizophrenia or something like that as their primary diagnosis. And then STAR Plus is for adults over age 21 to keep them out of nursing home care. So that would be for children who are on MDCP and aging out. They move over to STAR Plus when they turn 21. Okay, so questions I see. Please repeat the information about the one-time home modification. So what I've learned is that with these waiver programs, if they're going to pay for a home modification, they will pay up to $7,500. But once you use that $7,500 to maybe add a ramp and handrails, or add a bathroom on the first level of the home for your loved one, you deplete that allowance and you cannot use it repeatedly. In contrast, there is a dental benefit that is $2,000. That's a yearly benefit that you get from the waiver programs. That one you can use $2,000 each year. The home modification is a one-time $7,500 benefit. Okay, Clarice says, my son receives class. Should he also be on a list for the other waiver programs? Can he move from class to HCS? So yes, Clarice, if your son is already receiving one waiver, that does not stop them from being on any of the other waiver waiting lists. You can receive services from class and still be on HCS. And then when his name comes up for the HCS waiver, you and the service coordinator can look together at the different benefits and services provided by each of the waiver programs and decide which one is really best for your family and which one you would prefer to be on. Then you can stop receiving class and switch over to HCS, or not take HCS and stay on class. So we're going to dig a little deeper now into those 4 top programs, the most popular ones. Class. Class stands for Community Living Assistance and Support Services. This is the broadest. Like I said, there are over 200 diagnoses that qualify. People of all ages who have any disability that originated before age 22. And if that disability limits their ability to function on a daily basis, they qualify. This is a very, very flexible waiver because they can pay for these specialized therapies. Private insurance usually won't pay for those things. And that can be, again, things like massage therapy, music therapy, even horseback riding therapy, which is called hippotherapy, but it has nothing to do with a hippopotamus. Class does not offer group home placement. They will not pay for a group home, whereas HCS will. So one of the deciding factors when you're looking at, do we want HCS or do we want class, would be, do you need help paying for a group home? If you want your child to go someplace that is private pay only, then you don't need HCS because you're going to pay private pay for the home that your child is living in. And that's one unique factor. Okay. Now, HCS, Home and Community-Based Services, is the most comprehensive and well-known waiver program for people with intellectual disabilities. People of all ages, as long as they have an intellectual disability or a related condition or a combination, can qualify for HCS. So they say that an intellectual disability means an IQ of 70 or below. If they have maybe an intellectual disability and autism, then the IQ can be as high as 75. But so we're looking for people who are IQ of 75 or below with another disability, or just anyone with an IQ of 70 or below can get HCS. The biggest benefit and the key difference is that it offers residential options. You can live in your own home, you can live in a host home, or a small 4-person max group home. Now, the HCS program is managed by your local authority in your county. If you move counties, you do need to let people know where you moved to so that they can find you. And you need to let your new local authority know that you're there. Texas Home Living is kind of called HCS Light because it's for families who already have Medicaid but still need a little bit of extra support. So it's similar to HCS, but for people who don't need the support of housing payments. It's a capped annual budget, usually around 17,000 to 20,000 a year is what you're going to get for services. So this is less than class and less than HCS. And you need to already be on Medicaid to get Texas Home Living because most of the stuff you're going to get through Medicaid. So Texas Home Living is good for families who don't need a lot of the supports. They don't need that high level of funding. All right, well, the last one that I want to dig in deep is community first choice. Now, this is a little bit different. It's an entitlement program, which is a little bit different. It should not have such a long waiting list, but this is for people who are already on Medicaid. So if you're not on Medicaid yet, you're not going to be able to get CFC. You have to meet an institutional level of care, which means that you require, or your loved one requires, the same amount of help as someone who is in either a nursing home or an intermediate care facility. And it has to be someone who needs help with their activities of daily living, like getting dressed, bathing, eating, toileting, transferring, bathing, all of those kinds of things. The key benefits are going to be your personal assistance, hands-on help with the CFC waiver. They also have habilitation. So that's going to help you learn skills like managing your money, self-care, social interaction. They help with emergency responses. If a caregiver isn't present, they're going to be able to help. And support management. They train the families to be able to help and hire their own manage attendants. Now, again, it's not really a waiver. It gets lumped in with the waiver programs because it's so similar. But it's not a wait list situation with the CFC waiver. And it is managed locally through your LIDA and a managed care organization. Okay. Let's check out the questions that I have. I see Joe says, my son was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when he was 24 years old. He's now 30 and has functional and cognitive issues. What waiver would he fit in? Well, the four main waivers, I would say because he was diagnosed when he was 24, he would not qualify for class because that is for age 22. If the diagnosis is before age 22, but all the other ones he should be able to qualify for, depending on, what his IQ is. I would go ahead and sign him up for any of them that I possibly can and let them sort it out when his name comes to the top of the list. Ruth says, if an individual moves counties and is on a waiver wait list, do they lose their current spot? No. If you move counties within your state, you do not lose your spot on whatever wait list you're on. If you move to a completely different state, you do have to start over because these programs are statewide, not nationwide. So if you move to a different state, you are going to start over in your new state. But again, most states don't have such a long wait list like we do in Texas. So what if you're waiting, but you need help? You need help sooner. You don't have time to wait 17 to 20 years for class or HCS benefits. There are a couple of options. You can try to get a Medicaid buy-in program, which is where you would pay a little bit to buy into Medicaid. It's a reduced premium as long as your child meets certain criteria. To find out about that, you should call 211. Another option is Texas Health Steps. They would provide medical and dental checkups and case management for people who are already on Medicaid. So, the big thing is going to be try to get on Medicaid and get those services to be able to help you. What if you're in a crisis situation and you need help right now? And if you don't get help, Your child might need to go to a nursing home or a care facility of some kind. That's when you call your local LIDA crisis hotline. Look up your local authority. Again, that's something like Bluebonnet or MHMR, ACOG, Texana, Harris Center. Look up their crisis hotline and call them and request a crisis diversion spot. You need to tell them what your crisis is, and you need to specifically use the term, my child is at risk of institutionalization if I don't get help. This is for things like, let's say there's two parents and a child with needs. One of the parents becomes disabled. Now they can't work. There's fewer people to care for the child. And the other parent now has to spread their time out to care for the spouse and the child. And they simply cannot handle it. That's a situation where you're in crisis mode. What if your parent moves in with you and now you have to take care of your parent and your child? That could be considered a crisis. If your child is deteriorating and they're at risk of harming themselves or others, or they're threatening to run away all the time, those are reasons why you might say that you need help immediately. And if you don't have help, you might have to institutionalize that child. You're going to stay involved in the process with your local authority. And basically what they do is they push you to the front of the line for the HCS waiver program. Okay, another question I see in the chat box is MBIC, the Medicaid buy-in for children, different from applying through healthcare.gov. We've applied for insurance through there, but we're notified if my son qualifies for MBIC. Ruth, I'm not quite sure if that's a different program or the same program. The important thing is to get Medicaid any way you can, whether it be through specifically healthcare.gov or if it's the same thing, I'm not quite sure. Okay, I'm down to my last few slides and my last about 12 minutes. So please put any more questions or comments in the chat box while I give you a little more information about what we do at Consolidated Planning Group. We help families and we present these webinars to teach the public about all of these topics related to special needs plannings, the waivers, future cost of care, SSDI and SSI, and the differences between those programs. We help people with ABLE accounts and how to best designate your beneficiaries. Legal issues like the special needs trust and what happens in case of a divorce, and how do I use my first party versus my third party special needs trust? When can we talk about guardianship or a power of attorney, and what does my family need? All of these different things should be kept on your radar. You should be thinking about these things now. Like I said, when you have a clear mind and you're not super stressed, you're not in a crisis situation, start thinking through some of these topics and reach out to Consolidated Planning Group for help thinking these through. We do offer many webinars. We do these about 2 or 3 times a week, and we always record them. We always put them on our YouTube channel. But if you pre-register, that's when you're going to be able to get the slides and you're going to get the recordings sent straight to your email. You'll also get a notification so you have the link ahead of time. And you could submit questions before the webinar is over, before the webinar even starts. So I have those questions and I'll go through them and any questions in the chat box before we sign off for today. But this link will take you to our upcoming webinars on our website, and you can see what's coming up and pre-register. Now, we always offer a completely free initial consultation. This consultation usually lasts about 30 minutes. It's on Zoom, and you would meet with me or my husband, Andy, or the company owner, Allison. We talk to you about what questions you have, regarding your loved one and what your needs are, what you need to do for them. We do ask for a questionnaire that is required to be filled out before we can meet with you. And we use that to be able to give you more specific advice. It's not so we can have your contact information and have your birth dates and all of that, but it's so that we can look at your birth date and say, oh, okay, well, your child is above age 18, they can apply for these benefits, or you, sir, are getting close to retirement. We need to think about these issues. That's why we ask for that questionnaire ahead of time, so we know how to help you. You can use the QR code, call or email the office, or call or email me directly so that I can sign you up for this appointment. We also have links on here for our YouTube, Instagram, our podcast, and our Facebook page. And finally, this is our entire team at Consolidated Planning Group. We will absolutely be reaching out to you to see if you would like to schedule your free consultation. Please do. Please don't be rude when we call. Look at these smiling faces. We are just trying to do our jobs and trying to make sure that you have the help you need and the answers that you need. Unfortunately, at this time, we do not have a Spanish-speaking representative to be able to help. If you have someone that can translate for you, we're more than happy to meet with them and you at the same time. Now, I'm going to leave this screen up as I go through the rest of the questions, just to make sure that you have a chance to copy down our contact information or schedule your consultation. Okay, I have Janelle says, my son was diagnosed with a genetic health condition at 7. He's functional, but has documented intellectual disability. Is there a program that will help him in school by attending class with him and work? It got cut off there. I would definitely speak with the school. Those are usually supports that the school provides if you want help for him that is in school. You do not need to wait for a waiver program for in-school help. That is all done at school. Okay, so when you speak with his team for an IEP meeting or an ARD or something like that, that's where you ask about help at school. Dan says, is there an affordable method for guardianship of my 18-year-old with ID and autism? Yeah, Dan, guardianship can be very, very expensive. It's a big process. You have to have an attorney for yourself and an attorney ad litem for your child. You have to actually go to court and be seen in front of a judge. It's a big deal. And because of that, it can be very expensive. I would recommend that you look at the ARC of Galveston, Brazoria County. I'm not sure if it's Brazoria County or the ARC of Galveston, but it's the ARC that is in Galveston. They do lower cost guardianship, and so does the ARC of Central Texas or the ARC of the Capital, whichever one is in Austin. Those are 2 places that can do lower cost guardianship. You can also consider looking at local legal schools. See if they would be willing to do it, if the students would be willing to do it for a lower price, or lower cost legal aid options here in the state of Texas. Really, if it's just cost prohibitive, you might look at a supported decision-making agreement and powers of attorney as something that can give you a little bit of a safety net while you save up, I guess, for the guardianship. Thank you. Great. Thanks. Here's one more question, and unless I see any others come through, this will be the last. If you have Texas Children's Health Plan, we have school advocates that can get you the help you need at school. Thank you so much, Cindy, for pointing that out. Yeah. If you're with Texas Children's Health, the CHIP, I think it's called CHIP plan, they can help you with school advocates as well. All right. I hope by now I've been able to give you some good tips and tricks and things to think about as it comes to these waiver programs. I hope I've inspired you to give us a call. Let us schedule a consultation with you so that we can answer any questions you have that, maybe are more personalized to your specific situation, or you didn't want to ask in front of a big group. The thing is that we are truly here to help. And we want to answer your questions. Whether or not you can afford to do a full planning package with us doesn't matter. The consultation is free because we're here to guide you. We can talk about the various ways that we can help you, and that will range from services that we can perform for you at no cost to services that we can perform for you that include full financial planning and can cost thousands of dollars. So the cost does not matter when you schedule your free consultation of what you may or may not do in the future. One more question I see, and you're welcome, everybody. I'm so glad I'm able to help. When should someone apply for SSI if they're not income eligible for SSI? Okay, so Ruby, when your individual, your loved one, is under age 18, Social Security is going to look at the parent's assets and income. If the asset is above $2,000, $3,000 if married, or if the parent's income is too high, usually about $2,000 a month, then the child will not be able to qualify. Now, when the child turns 18, they will only look at the child's assets and income. And that is very much easier to control how much money they have in their name and where their money is held, and how much income they have. And if you need help figuring out how you can make sure that they will be able to qualify, just give us a call and we'll walk you through that, Ruby. Okay. Thanks a lot, everybody. I hope you all have a great, great weekend. Go dream about that place that you wish you could be. If you could be teleported anywhere in the world right now with no regards to financial considerations or needing a babysitter or childcare, where would you go? I want you to think about that and use that as your happy place, I guess. Your driving force for getting things done, right? Because nothing's going to get done unless you get started, and we're here to help you get started. All right, everybody have a great day. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.